Hello and welcome to another Technology Triumphs instalment of our Virtual Careers Week, where a big part of what we're offering home editors is interviews with people from a range of different jobs and careers to give your young people an insight into how they could get into those careers, what those jobs entail, some of the benefits of those jobs, and just an opportunity to touch base with people from a range of different backgrounds and career options. And today we're going to be speaking to the lovely Jackie, who is a senior support worker, and we're going to find out exactly what that means. Hi, Jackie. Thanks for joining us, first of all.
Hello, no problem. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Awesome. So I'm going to just jump straight in and ask the first question. I've said you're a senior support worker, but can you explain what that is?
Yeah, of course. I work for a charity and we support a range of families with a range of needs, but predominantly they are new mums and new dads, new families who have maybe had their baby during lockdown or more recently, and they just don't know how to access all the services that are out there. So they don't know about the playgroups, they don't know about food banks, they don't know what's available to them. So we are the missing link that can put them in touch with all of those places, go along to a baby group and sort of hold their hands if they need that. And we also have a growing army of volunteers who can be a befriender and just give them the confidence they need to get out there and enjoy being a new mum or a new dad.
That sounds awesome. So your job really is about helping people.
Absolutely. Putting them in touch, helping them. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. I'm all for that kind of career background. I was classified jobs or careers in two areas. One driven by money and profit making, and one where you're serving people and helping people. And I prefer that one. But question two: have you always wanted to do this job?
No, I was thinking about this question earlier on. When I was little, I wanted to be a florist, and I did a whole day's work experience, and I sneezed non-stop. So floristry is not for me. I then worked in law for a little while, and then I've been a primary teacher, and now I am finding ways to bring all of those things together, all of those skills in a job that works for me. And I'm part-time now, so it works for my family, and I'm really enjoying it. So
I think that's really reassuring for our young people to hear that actually you don't have to make a final decision about what your end point will be for your career. Speaking to lots of different people, and myself included, we haven't got into our first career and stayed there. We pick up skills and knowledge along the way, and that helps us wherever it helps us actually get to the right point. But also once we're there, it helps us in that job be really good at what it is we're doing. So it's just a nice point to make that you don't have to know exactly what you want to do right now, and it's okay to take your time or to change your mind as well.
Definitely, that's okay. And I still don't know what I really want to be when I grow up, so there's time to change again.
Plenty of time for that, haven't we?
Definitely.
So you have sort of mentioned the different jobs you've done along the way. My next question, I think you've partially answered that, was can you describe the journey you've gone on to get to this point? Was there anything else you wanted to add to that about skills or jobs or anything that you picked up that helped you?
Yeah, well, hopefully this is helpful. I did my GCSEs, I did my A-levels, and then I went off to university when I was 18, and I moved to London to study drama and theatre studies, which was amazing. And we did a whole session where we had to pretend to be a chair, and we had to live the chair, breathe the chair, feel the chair, be the chair, and it was wonderful. But after a couple of months, I realised I wasn't ready to be away from home. And although I loved the course, it just wasn't the right time. So I came home in February, having started in September, to lots of surprise, I guess, from my family, and lots of, well, what are you going to do now? And I found a legal secretarial course to do, which was a year. I enjoyed studying law at A-level, although it had never been an option for my degree. And I did a year at a local college, and I learned amazing skills like shorthand, which is fantastic for writing secret messages to people. I would recommend some old-fashioned shorthand, but also touch typing, which I use every single day. It's such a big time saver. So I would definitely recommend finding an online touch typing course. And there are some free programs that you can use online, or it might be worth paying for it. But whether you're filling in a form, working, messaging somebody, it's an absolutely huge time saver to be able to type without looking. So I definitely recommend that you do that. So I worked in law for a couple of years and remembered that I wanted to be a primary teacher when I was much little. So I went back to become a mature student and trained full-time to be a primary teacher, which was wonderful. And it was really nice to have the opportunity to go to university when I knew a little bit more about life and I knew a little bit more about the world and I knew how to have conversations with people. And then I had my family and it just wasn't working for me as a job. So I decided to change careers, look for something that was part-time, that involved helping people, that I could use all those IT skills, that I could use my sort of long words and legal talk as well. I found a job with a charity. There are lots of charities out there that have got different roles and you don't have to work for free for a charity, which I think a lot of people don't understand. It's not just working in a charity shop. There are lots of roles that you can do. You can be a charity accountant, you can be a charity dog walker, you can be all sorts of roles within charities that you didn't even realise were out there until you start looking.
Awesome.
So,
and I think
a couple of changes there, but everything sort of led me to where I am today. So
yeah. Again, it's a story I hear often. It's something I can relate to myself. I went back to university as a mature student. And I think, again, it's just highlighting, lots of young people, they have got a very firm idea of where they want to be and how they need to get there. And, they go through the steps and there aren't any obstacles and everything works out fine and exactly as they planned it. But it's, again, reassuring to know that even if things don't go quite to plan, that's not the end of the world. It might be that actually you need to go in a different direction anyway, and you'll still progress, you'll still get to where you should be. You just might do it in a different way than you'd originally planned, which it sounds like what's happened with you. And then also that your needs and what you wanted from a job changed over time.
And that's okay, that's allowed.
Yeah.
You're allowed to do that. And again, sometimes family will say to you, well, why are you leaving that job? But I'm not leaving that job, I'm moving into a different job. So I think there's some careers when you don't have to make a big announcement and explain yourself when you change jobs. But as a primary teacher, people feel the need to ask, well, why are you stopping? And I also had to retake my maths GCSE for one of my roles. I took my GCSEs first time around and got a D, and I was happy with that because maths didn't make a lot of sense to me at the time. I retook it the following year because D's not good enough, you need to get a C, and got another D, and I felt that the universe wanted me to get a D. That was as far as I could get with the maths GCSE. And then 5 or so years later, I realised I needed it to be a C for a particular job, so I took evening classes, and it just made sense a little bit more because I'd got life experience, because I'd been using it at work, because the pressure wasn't there, because it was people who go to an evening class, people who want to be there, people who are paying to be there. So I took it a third time a couple of years later and got a B. And I'm still quite amazed now that B was within me all the time. I just wasn't ready to pass that GCSE at that time, and now I've got it, and I don't ever think about it again, and I don't ever need to dig out the certificate. But there was a day in history when I took a GCSE maths exam and got a B. So well done me.
Well done. That's no easy achievement. Yeah, and again, for our learners and families listening, it's worth highlighting this. I think especially this time of year, a lot of learners, age 15, 16, are thinking about GCSEs and GCSE results if they're taking them as a pathway. If things don't necessarily go how you plan, it's not the end of the world, and there are other ways you can get to where you want to be. And maybe it just isn't the right time right now. Like you said, something clicked a couple of years later and you jumped 2 grades. So I think that's wonderful to hear, and reassuring for some of our young people that might be worried about what they're going to get or not achieve at this point in time. There's no real deadline, is there, in life as to when your education, well, certainly your education can continue on right till the end of life. You're always learning, and you can always do qualifications. So obviously, I'm not saying don't try and don't put up any kind of pressure on yourself, but just be reassured that there's other ways if it doesn't work out the way you expected it to the first time around.
And there's other qualifications, there's more specific qualifications you can take in future that don't have the same initials after them, but are equally valuable to you and to future employers.
Exactly that. That's awesome. So can you describe, working, I'm guessing, especially from the jobs you described, you like helping people. I imagine as a primary teacher, you liked working with young people and helping them. What's the best bit about your current role?
Best bit about my current role is that the families that we work with we get to spend more time with. So we work with them. I do an initial visit with them. So I sit with them for an hour and just listen, hear their story, hear what's going well, hear what they need. And then I can start thinking, oh, this might be useful for them. I could put them in touch with this place. I've got another family in a similar situation. I might be able to buddy them up. So I need to listen really carefully to what their needs are, and have a think about how I can help them, and then put that plan into action, which is really nice. So we run baby groups. So sometimes I spend the mornings on the floor with homemade paint, painting things, which is lovely. Sometimes it's thinking outside the box and thinking they've got a particular interest, and how can we meet that interest in the local community. So researching and finding out what's out there. I advertise for volunteers, and then I get to meet them and hear their story and what they would like to share with families, and then I train them up. So I'm still using a bit of teaching. So yeah, it's lots of those soft skills that they're called, I believe. Listening to people, empathizing, researching, being nice to people, tuning into what they're actually saying, hearing the message behind their words. So I've definitely used all of those skills all day, every day.
It sounds like a really interesting and varied role. And it sounds like you need quite a creative mind to be able to think outside the box and problem solve, really. But it's not like a maths equation where there's one single right answer. You're thinking more broadly than that, I imagine.
Yeah, and that again comes with life experience, that comes with local knowledge, that comes from talking to other families and just making a note, oh, that's an interesting website, that might be useful, or there's a new cycling park that's opened up. I'll just make a note of that because that might come up. So it's really nice to be able to share experience and help people.
So my next question was, can you describe one of the biggest challenges you faced trying to get into your current job?
One of the biggest challenges was knowing what I wanted to do, because I knew what I didn't want to do. I knew which jobs didn't work for me. And when you are an adult with a house and lots of bills to pay, there are things to consider financially. I've got to think about whether I can pick my children up from school. So there's practical things to think about. But I was really looking for a job where I could not necessarily sit in an office typing on the phone all day, but actually go out and meet people that would still work for my family's needs. So there's sort of flexible jobs out there. There's hybrid jobs that you can do partly at home, partly outside. So I'm really lucky that I found a community job that I can do. So for example, yesterday I did some online training. So yesterday I sat in front of a computer all day talking to people from all around the country, learning new skills which I can apply in my role. And I didn't have to go into the office for that one. They were very happy for me to sit and do that at home. So yeah, I've been very lucky finding this job, I think.
Nice. My next question was, what can you describe one of the biggest challenges you faced whilst in your job?
Well, one of the parts of my role is advertising for volunteers. So finding volunteers and people who have got some lived experience that they're able to share. And I don't know about you, Pip, but I'm sure you're the sort of person that, like me, in the past, you've seen a poster somewhere, you've heard an advert on the radio for volunteers, and you thought, oh, I'd love to do that. I could definitely do that. And I personally have never got as far as filling in the form, making the phone call, turning up at the event. So it's persuading people that their time is valuable and that they will be valued. And once people have had a conversation, if I meet people at an event or speak to them on the phone, they're really happy. And some people have committed and they've done the training, and we're just doing their final checks and references. So it's thinking outside the box. Where will these people see an advert? The sorts of people that I'm looking for, where can I find them? Which was a brand new skill to me. And I've sort of learned that as I've gone along. And I've worked out which of my posters have not had anybody looking at them and haven't attracted them. And I've had to think about things online, which I suppose I'm a bit old. It hadn't really occurred to me to sort of advertise on Facebook, but lots of our volunteers are seeing us through media content. So just thinking about the sorts of people that I'm looking for and then working backwards to think where I can find them.
So were there any specific qualifications you needed to be able to even apply for your job?
I needed C grades, GCSE English and Maths, which I've got. But it was mainly experience, actually. The role that I've got, when when they interview, they're looking to see if you'd fit in with the team that work there. They're thinking about the service users, the families they're working with already, and thinking, well, will Jackie be able to talk to them? Will they get on together? Is she a sort of kind, helpful person we're looking for? But definitely they were looking for experience, and it didn't need to be paid experience. It could be volunteer experience or hours clocked up. So I'm very passionate about volunteering, and I know that your young people are working really hard, but it might be that they've got an hour free once a week and you haven't got to volunteer to work in a charity shop. If you live near to an animal rescue centre, they will be more than happy for you to give them an hour of your time looking after the animals, cleaning out, petting them. If you are near to a care home or an old people's home, just ask them if they're looking for somebody to pop in. And if you love painting nails, you can go in and paint ladies' nails. If you can play the piano, you can volunteer that skill for an hour once a week, twice a month. It hasn't got to be a big time commitment, but those volunteering hours really do make a difference. They really do make your application stand out, because you've taken the time to do something, you've taken the time to give back to the community, and that shows you're the kind of person who can put themselves out there and help others. And those skills are invaluable in, I imagine, all roles.
I was going to say, I think that's really good advice for any young person thinking about any industry. I think one of the biggest challenges I faced as a older teenager trying to get part-time work was the stipulation that they wanted people with experience, but no one wanted to give you experience. Mm-hmm. So volunteering would be a way of gaining experience another way, and hopefully help any young person to get potentially their foot in the door for at least an interview process. So that's really good advice. Thank you, Jackie. If you didn't work in this profession, what do you think you'd be doing instead? You come away from teaching, so I'm going to take that one off the cards.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think I'd like to be doing something quite artistic. I'd like to be running a little art gallery somewhere and taking classes and doing sort of pottery things, maybe something really hands-on, but that still involves talking to people, sort of meeting members of the public and helping them to do something nice and help create something.
I like that. Again, still providing a service, really, not just selling stuff to make money, but actually connecting with people and helping people still.
Yeah, nice. I think so. I think that's me.
And then my final question was, what advice would you give any young person who is either thinking of going into volunteering or thinking specifically of working in a role like yours?
Okay, well, I would definitely advise them to volunteer somewhere. Find something that you're interested in. It might be, again, that there's a hospital near you that's got a shop that you can work in and talk to people. You might discover hidden skills that you didn't know that you had. But also, I would say it's important to remember that you don't have to make up your mind what job you want to do when you are 14, 16, 20, 30. I spoke to a career advisor a couple of years ago, and she said that the average person now has 7 different roles in their lifetime. So I think, well, I'm about halfway through. Speaking from experience, my own little boys are adamant that they will be professional footballers. And one of them, if he can't be a professional footballer, he will go into Formula One if he really has to. And I've tried to balance their dreams and manage that expectation that they can still enjoy doing those things. They can still enjoy the world of sport. They can still enjoy playing football without that having to be their first and only full-time job. So they can be a part-time accountant and a part-time roller skate waitress, or they can be any role in the world, but also play football in the evenings. They can volunteer to be a football coach on a Sunday for younger children. They can still do the things that they enjoy without having to get paid for them and without feeling like any other job would be disappointing for them.
I think that's really good advice, and I can relate. I know when I was 13, I was adamant I was going to be a vet, and then found out I was phobic of needles, so that wasn't realistic. And my negotiation was just to keep animals. So I just have pets. That's how I bring my love of animals into my world.
But if you could talk to younger Pip now, you could advise her that you could go and work in a stable for an hour on a Sunday morning, or walk dogs. Yeah, there's lots of things you can do to sort of meet that need in yourself without having to worry about getting paid.
That's it, exactly it. Well, that was all my questions. Was there anything else you wanted to add or put forward, Jackie, or do you think we've covered everything?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I just said it's really nice to pass on the benefit of my experience, if that's what it is. But just to confirm that it's okay to not know what you want to do. It's okay to change your mind, and it can be scary, especially when there are bills to pay. But you need to make sure that you look after yourself and that you are happy in your role. And if you think about the people you know who've got jobs, the ones who are happy in their roles tend to be people who are happy and sing while they're cooking, and talk about their jobs with passion. So that would be my advice.
That is really good advice. Thank you so much for giving your time to the home ed community today. Really lovely hearing from you and hearing all about the amazing work you do. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Pip. It's been great talking to you. Thanks. Goodbye.
See you later.